to my favorite sutta. So I thought this morning we'd just have a few minutes to finish off our study of Saṃvega in the suttas. So it has been pretty heavy so far. It's been very kind of old age, sickness and death kind of heavy. And we've got just a little bit more death coming your way this morning. And I think the frequency of these suttas that deal with this issue shows how important it was to the Buddha to talk about this over and over and over and over and over and over again. And so with our learning on the spiritual path, have you noticed that we are slow learners? We're really slow. And so this repeated exposure is really useful because it helps us little by little understand these profound truths. And I spoke last night about how difficult it is to see these truths and how stubborn the mind is, and how also it takes so much for it to actually penetrate and affect us. So I spoke last night a little about needing to have some sort of emotional response, and that this would allow us to really feel what it was that the Buddha was trying to point us towards. And so this next sutta is an indication of that kind of emotional response, that Saṃvega that we should feel. And so it begins. So we're on page 10. This is called the Siha Sutta, the lion. Mendicants. Towards evening, the lion, king of the beasts, emerges from his den, yawns, looks all around the four directions, and roars his lion's roar 3 times. Then he sets out on the hunt, and whatever animals hear the roar of the lion, king of the beasts, are typically filled with fear, awe, and terror. So that awe, that's Saṃvega. They return to their lairs, be it in a hole, the water, or a wood, and birds take to the air. Even the royal elephants, bound with strong harness in the villages, towns, and capital cities, break apart their bonds and urinate and defecate in terror as they flee here and there. That's how powerful is the lion, king of the beasts among animals, how illustrious and mighty. So the Buddha is quite a good storyteller, right? He really knows how to capture an audience with something that they could easily relate to. You know, people have heard the lion's roar, and this idea of animals fleeing in terror. Even elephants, they piss and poo themselves out of fear. So, can you see where this is going? Yeah? In the same way, when a realized one arises in the world, perfected and fully awakened Buddha, accomplished in knowledge and conduct, holy, knower of the world, supreme guide for those who wish to train, teacher of gods and humans, awakened, blessed. This is, of course, the Buddha Nusati that we chant in the mornings. He teaches the Dhamma And here we have a very brief teaching on the 5 khandhas, which I won't go into, such as form, such as the origin of form, such as the ending of form, such as feeling, such as perception, choices, consciousness, such as the origin of consciousness, such as the cessation of consciousness. So this is like a very brief teaching about the khandhas, the 5 aggregates, and not self. So this is one of the core aspects of the Buddhist doctrine, that there is no stable, permanent self, that we are impermanent, that we are a conditioned being. And so this is the core, one of the core, Buddha's core realizations. And so he puts it in here, because hearing this can be quite confronting. So he says, now there are gods who live long lives, these gods, beautiful and very happy, lasting long in their divine palaces. When they hear this teaching by the realized one, they are typically filled with fear, awe, and terror. Oh no! Oh no! It turns out we're impermanent. Though we thought we were permanent, it turns out we don't last. Though we thought we were everlasting, it turns out we're impermanent, not lasting, transient, and included with personal existence. So this last little phrase is that these beings believe that those 5 khandhas are themselves, that they have this persistent view of themselves, and they think that they are permanent, everlasting beings, but they are transient, they die. Even these long-lived gods, let alone humans like us, right? So the gods are said to live for eons upon eons upon eons, like stars in the sky, they last a really long time. And they think, because they've been around so long, that they're permanent. And then when they hear the teaching of the Buddha, they're like those animals that urinate and defecate themselves out of fear and terror. Oh no, we're not permanent. And the same with us. When we hear this teaching, it should affect us. We should be like, hang on, I'm not permanent. And of course, the Saṃvega isn't just this fear, but this is also how to respond to this. So it's a beautiful little story, and something that I think about quite often, actually. The animals running away in fear, and how we also sometimes, when we hear the teachings of the Buddha, we might get this feeling of, what am I doing? And I said this at the very beginning of the retreat, but all of you have probably experienced a little bit of this in your own life, right? In some way, you have experienced something that has made you stop and look and wonder about this life, this world. And I said how powerful and how fortunate it is that you've had that experience, because it gives you this opportunity to work towards freedom. Okay, so I'm going to move quite quickly today, because we need to get to my favourite sutta. So both these suttas that we're looking at so far this morning are about that stubbornness of our mind to believe in impermanence. And I've said this multiple times throughout the retreat, how stubborn we are, how slow we are at learning, how difficult it is for us to penetrate this truth of impermanence. And this is why we spend so long in meditation trying to look at impermanence? There's a reason for that. There's a point to that investigation. And when we truly realize it, it will truly affect you. Even just a small amount of understanding should change your life. But we're slow learners, and we're going to meet some more slow learners in the next sutta. It's called the Simile of the Goad, G-O-A-D, Goad. And a goad is a long stick with a point on the end, a sharp point, and it has a little hook often. So it's like a long stick, pointy end, and there's like a hook that comes out of the side. And this is what you use if you're training an elephant or a horse or a buffalo, and you use it by sticking it in poor animal's flesh. Or you use the hook to pull. Yeah? Yeah, it's horrible, right? So mean. And the goad is often a symbol of power, royal power as well, because the king or the queen has the power to, do this to the people, right? So the ankh in ancient Egypt and the crook, it's kind of like a combination of those kind of two symbols, the goad. And in India, you see all these ceremonial goads that are made of gold and ivory and things like that. But the basic use is by people training animals, and it's training through this pain and hopefully no one's still using them today, but perhaps they are. Anyway, so in the old days they used to train horses in this way, using a goad. And so we're talking with a horse trainer in this sutta. So, mendicants, there are these 4 fine thoroughbreds that are found in the world. A thoroughbred is like a racehorse. What for? One fine thoroughbred is moved to act when it sees the shadow of the goad, thinking, what task will the horse trainer have me do today? How should I respond? Some fine thoroughbreds are like that. This is the first fine thoroughbred to be found in the world. So this horse is quite smart, right? It just sees the shadow of the goad. Just the shadow. And it's like, I should be moved. This being moved is Saṃvega, being moved, being stirred into action. There's a response that it has to the shadow of the goad. It's clever. It knows, otherwise it's going to get stabbed. And so when it sees the shadow, it moves. Quick learner. Second is another thoroughbred which isn't moved to act when it sees the shadow of the goad, but only when its hairs are struck, thinking, what task will the horse trainer have me do today? How should I respond? Some fine thoroughbreds are like that. That is the second fine thoroughbred found in the world. So a little bit slower, right? Doesn't move when it sees the shadow, only when its hairs are tickled by the point. It's like, hang on, I better move. What does my master want me to do? Otherwise, so the third horse isn't moved to act when it sees the shadow of the goad, nor when its hairs are struck, but only when its hide is struck. When its hide is pierced, when its skin is pierced by that goad, thinking, what task will the horse trainer have me do? How should I respond? Some fine thoroughbreds are like that. That's the third horse. So needs a little bit of pain, right? To get moving. A little bit of pain to get motivated. The goad piercing its flesh. And the last one, this horse isn't moved to act when it sees the shadow of the goad, nor when its hairs are struck, nor when its hide is struck, but only when its bone is struck. Only then does it think, oh, what should I do? How should I respond? So this is like a very slow learner, right? It needs a really deep level of pain right into the bone. Can you imagine? It's like such a powerful image. It kind of makes you wince a little bit. You're like, ow, yuck. Can you imagine something going into your bone? No, thank you. Right? So these are the 4 types of horses. The one that trembles at the shadow of the whip. One that, when its hairs are touched, moves. One that, when its skin is pierced, moves. And the last one, only when its bones are pierced, only then does it think, how should I respond? So, you know, the Buddha likes analogies, right? So he's going to be comparing those horses with something that we can learn from. In the same way, these 4 fine thoroughbred people are found in the world. What for? So he's comparing horses with people. One fine thoroughbred person hears about the suffering or death of a woman or man in such and such village or town. They're moved to act by this and strive effectively. That's Saṃvega, moved, stirred to act. Applying themselves, they directly realize the ultimate truth and see it with penetrating wisdom. This person is like the fine thoroughbred that's shaken when it sees the shadow of the goad. Some fine thoroughbred people are like that. This is the first fine thoroughbred person to be found in the world. So that first person is like that first horse. Smart. Clever. Right? When this person hears about someone over there dying, they're like, this will happen to me. And so they respond by striving for liberation. You know, even last night we were doing the death contemplation. It's like, so too, my body is of the same nature. This will be my inescapable fate. And some of you won't believe that. You know? Still, you'll have this idea, yeah, maybe I'll survive. Maybe I'm the one that's everlasting. It's so difficult to believe. And when you hear of people that die in the next village, let's face it, you don't care at all, right? It doesn't matter to you. There's no lesson that you learn from that. You're not invested enough to care. So you don't use that as an opportunity for wisdom. You're too indifferent. And it's not that we have to kind of go around grieving every person, but it's instructive to us. It's an opportunity for us to grasp the reality of death. if we're quick like that. So the second kind of person, like a thoroughbred, doesn't hear about the suffering or death of a woman or man in such or such a village or town, but they see it themselves. They're moved by this, Saṃvega, and they strive effectively. Applying themselves, they directly realize the ultimate truth and see it with penetrating wisdom. This person is like the fine thoroughbred that's moved to act when its hairs are struck. So that's the second type of horse, second type of person. So it is quite different, isn't it? Someone over there that we don't know, we just heard about them dying, so we didn't get stirred. We didn't get this sense of spiritual urgency. But someone dead in front of us, a little bit harder to ignore, right? Seeing a dead body, it affects you. Has anyone here seen a dead body? Yeah, most of you have. It's real, right? And so this horse, this person, needs a little bit more to make it real, to fully comprehend and understand this truth. They need to see it for themselves. What about the third person, third horse person? This fine thoroughbred person doesn't hear about the suffering or death of a woman in such and such a village or town, nor do they see it themselves, but it happens to their own relative or family member. They're moved to act by this and strive effectively. Applying themselves, they directly realize the ultimate truth and see it with penetrating wisdom. This person is like a fine thoroughbred that's moved to act when that skin is struck. So here we have a truth that this person is only moved because of their investment and emotional attachment to that deceased person. And probably this, for most of us, is where we're at with death. You know, we don't care if we hear someone, if there's a stranger dead in front of us, maybe, but someone we know and love, suddenly, only then, suddenly it matters to you. Because of your attachment to them. And so this tells us quite a lot actually about our relationships to others and to the world. We are invested in people who matter to us for some reason. We're not so invested in other people. We care for and protect our friends and family. We're not usually so interested in other people, their suffering, their death. It's true, yeah? It's kind of sad. And I mean, there's many reasons for this. There's many reasons, for example, why wars in Africa don't get the same kind of attention as conflict in our own countries might, in the news. We're less invested, right? And maybe there's something just very basic, human, we just can't possibly care about everything. But these barriers, these limits for our love and kindness, these put distance between us and others. And this is something that in our practice of things like love, loving kindness and compassion, we're trying to break down those barriers. We don't limit our love to just those people who we're invested in. We try to give love to all beings. And in this way we start to understand, this idea of ourself is conditioned. This idea of me and mine, my friends, my family. This is all illusory. We're so dependent upon so many beings. And this idea of self, this idea of me, mine, this is also so illusory. And it limits us. It limits the kind of expression of love and connection we can feel in the world. We're always putting these boundaries around our hearts and our interests. And so, just a little reflection about why it would take so much for us to care about the dead body in front of us. And when we examine it, we see actually because it's about me and my view of self, my self-interest. And so that's that third person that's like that third horse that needs that goad to be pushed deep into the skin, into the flesh. And the last horse, the last person, this person doesn't just hear about the suffering or death of a woman or man in such and such village or town, nor do they see it themselves, nor does it happen to their own relative or family member, but they themselves are afflicted with physical pain, sharp, severe, acute, unpleasant, disagreeable, and life-threatening. So that's pretty intense, isn't it? They're moved to act by this and strive effectively. Applying themselves, they directly realize the ultimate truth and see it with penetrating wisdom. This person is like that fine thoroughbred that's moved to act when its bone is struck. So some people are like that. This is the fourth kind of person in the world. So the Buddha here, going to town, they themselves are afflicted with physical pain, sharp, severe, acute, unpleasant, disagreeable, and life-threatening. So it sounds pretty horrible, doesn't it? And only then does it start to become real for them. Only then do they think, how should I respond? Only then does Saṃvega occur in them. This is suffering. How do I respond? And so it takes quite a lot. It's like being pierced into the bone, that sharp, acute, severe pain that this person has to experience before they realize, old age, sickness and death. How am I going to respond? How should I be moved? How should I be stirred into action? And for many of us, this is us. We might not be moved very much by our family's passing. We might not be moved by a stranger dead before us, or by hearing about someone in another place. But when it's me, my life, my pain, my suffering, suddenly it's really important, right? Because we're so selfish, we're so self-interested, we're so self-obsessed, self-absorbed. Me, my pain, my suffering. I was recently in Thailand when one of the people I was travelling with got sick and had to go to the hospital and spend some time in the hospital. The hospital was pretty intense, public hospital, a lot of people very sick, gangrene, amputated limbs, catheters, that sort of thing, in this hospital ward, all on display. And this person wasn't as sick as the rest of them, but he was really suffering, mentally suffering, and couldn't cope. And despite there being a room full of people with literally with their limbs cut off, he was creating this huge drama about not wanting to be there because the environment was so confronting for him. And so he was making this experience all about him and his suffering and me, my pain. And you have this room full of people who are in terrible amounts of pain. Everyone else was quite stoic, So this person, none of that mattered to him. I mean, it mattered in the sense that it was suffering for him to see other people suffering. That was what was difficult for him. But he made this suffering all about himself. Me, I have to get out of here. He was experiencing a very strong revulsion to being there. And it was like, when it was him, his pain, it really mattered. But these other people, he couldn't empathize with them. He couldn't see that their pain was also significant. And so this is kind of what we're like a lot of the time. When it's us, we're really motivated. When it's us, we want people to pay attention, to notice, to help. And this is, of course, due to our attachment to ourself, our idea of self. And it's okay, I'm not saying you shouldn't get help if you're experiencing pain and discomfort and all of that. I'm not saying you shouldn't ask for assistance or that you don't matter. I'm not saying anything like that. But isn't it interesting where we have these boundaries with others and how our self-view affects the way we can make progress on the spiritual path, because we have to wait until we've experienced it ourselves. We have to have these things happen to us before we can learn to respond. And so in a way it makes us like that poor horse, a really slow learner, because we haven't grasped when we see the shadow of death, or when we feel the touch of death on our skin and our hairs, or when we feel, our flesh being penetrated by death or pushed into the bone. That's when we are like, okay, this is real. And for some people, they only get this truth in their final moments. Death is coming. And I spoke before about how many people are in their final moments struggling to accept death, fighting death. And so this is why we train to let go. This is why we train to accept this truth of death, so that not only can we, live well in our final moments, but so that our life is transformed. Maybe we start to think about other beings a little more rather than ourselves. Maybe we dismantle some of those barriers that separate us from others. We care a little bit more, even about people that we don't know. Because just like me, these beings also suffer. These beings are deserving of love. And so this is how we train on the spiritual path, to increase our capacity for caring for others, and developing wisdom so that we can see more clearly what it means to be us, what it means to be a conditioned being, what it means to be part of society and this world, what it means to be stuck in samsara, and how we can possibly, potentially, get out. And so that experience should change us somehow and push us along the spiritual path. This experience of Saṃvega should propel us with energy and momentum. That's why we want to allow for it to affect us. We don't just want to brush it aside, to minimize it, to repress or suppress it. We want to allow it to affect us so that, yes, we are stirred to move. And we want to get better and better, faster and faster at learning so that we're not waiting for that really deep suffering to happen in our life before we act. So that's one of my favourite suttas, because for me it makes me really passionate about my spiritual practice. I want to be the fast horse. I don't want to be the one that's really slow and getting stuck to the bone. I don't know about you. May we all get there really fast. Let's take the fast train. So, we're getting almost to the end of our sutta list, and I'm really happy because this seems to be just the right amount of suttas. So I'm kind of glad that I took out the other half. And this last sutta on page 12, is a little bit of a balm for us, because so far it's been all about old age, sickness and death, literally from start to almost the finish. And this is only one aspect of Saṃvega. So in English we use the word awa, A-W-A, as a translation sometimes for Saṃvega. And awe is one of those words that is both positive and negative. It's like when you see something awe-inspiring, it can be like a volcano erupting and you're like, whoa. Or it can be like a beautiful sunset. It can be, seeing a field of dead soldiers brings about a sense of awe. Or even seeing the beautiful flowers in springtime can bring a sense of awe. And so Saṃvega is a bit like this, in that it isn't only like restricted to negative, so-called negative experiences. It has a positive quality to it. And some of the positive qualities that we find in the suttas are things like monks showing off their psychic powers, and people like, whoa, and having a sense of Saṃvega. But perhaps the most well-known positive Saṃvega is to contemplate the four holy places associated with the life of the Buddha. So we actually find this in the suttas, and we find it also in the commentaries as well, that contemplating the four holy places brings about religious emotion, spiritual urgency, a sense of awe, Saṃvega. And so, what are these four places? So here the Buddha is saying, mendicants, a faithful person should go see these four inspiring places. What for? Thinking, here the realized one was born. That's an inspiring place. So this first place where the Buddha-to-be was born is in Lumbini, Nepal. That's an inspiring place. Thinking here the realized one became awakened as a supreme, fully awakened being. That's an inspiring place. Where did the Buddha get awakened? Bodh Gaya, yeah, under the Bodhi tree. That's an inspiring place. Why is it inspiring? Gained enlightenment. Oh well, hopefully that'll affect us somehow. Thinking, here the realized one rolled forth the supreme wheel of Dhamma. That's when he gave his first teaching. That's an inspiring place. Where was that? Sarnath. Thinking, here the realized one became fully extinguished through the element of extinguishment. That's Nibbana, with nothing left over. That's an inspiring place. Where was that? Kusinara. These are the 4 inspiring places that a faithful person should go to see. So here we have an aspect of Saṃvega that I haven't really covered, but I've kind of touched on a little bit, and that is its relationship to faith or confidence and conviction in the path. You experience Saṃvega because you see something for yourself, and it's like, hang on, this is real. Impermanence is real. And that's what gives you a sense of confidence or conviction in the Buddha's teachings. You see old age, sickness and death, and you're like, okay, this is real. The Buddha talked about this. So you get confidence in the Buddha's teachings. And that faith is really important because it's a kind of conviction that comes from experiential understanding. It's not something that you've heard or been taught. It's something that you have seen for yourself. And with these profound things, when you see them, you can't unsee them. So when you see them really clearly, they do affect you. It does produce conviction. It does produce that faith in the Buddha's teachings. Ooh. And so, remember back to that first day where we looked at the Buddha, the story of the Buddha escaping the palace and going out into the world and seeing an old person, a sick person, a dead person, and an ascetic or a sage. Yeah. So that is, too, a positive Saṃvega, right? It's like this is someone trying to get out of this realm of suffering. It's like positive inspiration. And for me, I always got really excited when I would see a monk or a nun. It's like, oh, sadhu, 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 here's someone living the spiritual life, like giving this example to us of, living simply, being content, investigating the teachings, preserving them, sharing them so that many people can benefit. And it always brought a lot of spiritual joy and awe into my heart, and also like a bit of a reminder, like, what am I doing? When was the last time I did some meditation? Oh, I should really do another meditation retreat. It's this kind of positive inspiration for me that had a stirring effect. Saṃvega made me think, oh, okay, I should go and do something meritorious, offer some food to the monks, or I should go and book another meditation retreat, or I should definitely go home and do some meditation myself. And so this positive aspect of Saṃvega, which I've left to this very last moment, is actually really important to get. So it's like a good feeling, a positive, happy, joyful kind of religious emotion. And the same with going to visit these 4 holy places where the Buddha was born, his last birth. That's why that place matters. That was it. He was born, he died, there is no rebirth. A Buddha appears in the world. There's a lot of stories and artistic depictions of the Buddha, and that he walked 4 steps and put his finger up and said, "This is my last birth." Who knows how all of this stuff went down in history? But this place where someone who taught such a powerful Dhamma was born, that's somewhere to go and be inspired by. And where he attained Nibbana, it's not, some people go to Bodh Gaya and like the energy, the power, and I remember going to Bodh Gaya and I was like, this place is crazy, it's overrun with tourists, there's beggars everywhere hassling me, doesn't feel like a really spiritual place. But maybe I just wasn't sensitive enough to the vibrations. Or perhaps it doesn't really matter about the vibrations. It's more, Akāliko, this is where the Buddha did the work. This is where he triumphed. That's what I need to focus on, his teaching and the path towards Nibbana. So that's why that place is inspiring. And where he gave his first teaching. This is important to us because this is where the wheel of Dharma was turned. And if you've read the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, you know that's when Kondanya got it. He understood. And this was the first being who understood the Dharma and came out of suffering, benefited, got on the path to enlightenment because he heard the Dhamma and understood it. And so for us as Buddhists, this is a profound moment in the history of Buddhism. We understand that the Buddha, out of compassion, taught, and it was possible for beings to understand. So this is inspiring. We can also understand, right? It's possible for us to get enlightened. And so that's why that place is important. And then the final place, Kushinara, the place where the Buddha attained parinibbana, final extinguishment, this is important too. No more rebirth. That was it. Gone. Done. Nibbanaed completely. And so for us as Buddhists, this is the ultimate goal, to not come back to this round of suffering in samsara. So, how many of you have been to India to see the holy places on pilgrimage? Yeah, a few of you? I don't know, I mean, like, it's, sometimes I think, I don't know, I feel guilty about travelling, with the airline, emissions, destroying the planet and things like that. And so I'm like, but we have photos on the internet and videos, and we can imagine these places. And so that's what I do. I can't just pop off to India every time I want a spiritual experience. And so instead, I imagine these places, and I imagine myself there with the Buddha under the Bodhi tree, or imagine myself at his deathbed. And I allow for there to be some sort of religious emotion arising within me, some sort of Saṃvega. And so this is quite a nice thing to do from time to time, is to give yourself a little holy place pilgrimage tour in your own mind. Take yourself off on your flying cushion to these places and just really ponder them and allow them to affect you. And then being inspired, go back to your life. So this is a positive side of Saṃvega that I just wanted to share with you as a balm, after all of your death. So let's just quickly review what we've done. So many of you came on Friday night. You were here before the retreat started. We did a activity around spiritual friendship with the mundane, everyday objects, and we shared about our spiritual practice. So that was really nice. I learnt so much about you, and I feel like we've got a connection now. We're good spiritual friends, which is really nice. And then we started the retreat. We started to look at the Atadanda Sutta, looking at those fish flailing about in the puddle and how the Buddha was stirred, how he was Saṃvega'd. We read Ratapala's poem, who compared this body to a fancy puppet and talked about the things that led him to renounce. And then we heard about the 5 frequent reflections. What are they? Old age, sickness, death, separation, karma. And we did a reflection, a guided meditation on the 5 frequent reflections. We heard about the 8 grounds for Saṃvega, and we didn't really go deeply into that, but let's just refresh. Rebirth, aging, sickness, death, suffering in the lower realms, suffering in the past, rooted in samsara, suffering in the future, being stuck in samsara, suffering in the present because of the need to search for nutriment. So that's the 8 grounds for Saṃvega, and that comes from the commentaries. Then we looked at this sutta, which is called Happiness, a bit deceptive, and we looked at how we get Saṃvega'd. We have a sense of urgency in things that should evoke Saṃvega, and being Saṃvega'd, we respond. So the importance of actually not just experiencing something, but making effort. And we looked at how Buddhaghosa describes Saṃvega as being related to effort and energy in our practice. Then we looked at the simile of the mountain. Do you remember that? The mountain coming to crush you. What should you do? Dhammacharya, study the teachings. Sammacharya, live righteously with ethical conduct. Kusala Kiriya, do good actions. Punya Kiriya, do meritorious deeds. That's how we should respond when the mountains of old age and death are coming for us. And then we looked at how many bones we've left behind as we've wandered around samsara. A mountain of bones, oceans of blood, oceans of tears that we've shed through samsara. And then we looked at how many different ways there are to die. We studied Araka's Sutta. I said there'd be a test. Do you remember the 7 similes in the Araka Sutta? Yes? Really? What's the first one? Morning dew, yep. Rain bubble, good. Yep. Line in the water. Yes, a strong, fast-moving river. And then spit getting spat out. And then in the pan. And the last one, cow getting led to slaughter. Very good. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So it's good to study the suttas, right? Then you learn them. That's why I like doing sutta retreats, because it allows us to come really close to the words of the Buddha and learn about the teachings. And then Did you enjoy that when we did the Araka Sutta contemplation? Did you enjoy that? It's the first time I've done that. I think I might do it more often. It's a nice one. And then we heard about the lion and the elephants who wet their pants in terror. And the last one is the 4 types of people in the world and the horses. Oh, actually, the second last one. And then the final one we looked at was the 4 places of inspiration related to the Buddha. So it's quite a lot, right? We did a lot. Was there something that stood out for you? Something that mattered? Something that you found relevant and important? What was it? Wake up, yeah. So now I want to do a quick activity with you, just a really quick one, where we're going to pass out, see these pencils and paper at the front? We're going to pass those around so everyone has a piece of paper and everyone has a pencil. So we'll do that first. If you could grab those ones there and pass them around. So everyone needs a piece of paper, everyone needs a pencil. Okay, quick sticks. We're running out of time. So, thinking about all the things that we've heard, thinking about the things that we've been discussing, reflecting upon, thinking of the images in the sutta that we've looked at. What advice would you give someone else that would be useful, inspiring, that might help them develop some Saṃvega? So it could be something like, probably wouldn't be something like you're a glob of spit, no. But it might be something like, don't forget, life is impermanent. It might be something like, something you've learned about practice, like maybe reflect on your actions before you go to bed, or practice meditation daily, something that's going to inspire someone. Or what else could it be? Make sure that you're a quick learner. Don't wait until the last moment to practice. Something that's like really good advice. Advice to yourself or advice to others. Write it clearly, write it in English. Don't think too hard about it. Just something that matters to you that you might want to share with someone else. Do you need a piece of paper? Go on. I think there's some essays being written. So if you finish, do you want to come up and put it in this bucket here? Yeah, very good. Yours is in there too, Venerable? Okay, so thank you for doing that. And are you still going? Finish up. Who hasn't finished up yet? Good. So I'd like to do just one final meditation, and that is a meditation on love, just to finish up our practice. And so let's spend a few minutes. So it's always good to practice love, right? And especially at the end of retreat, a lot of places will teach a bit of metta, loving kindness. So I know some of you aren't practicing Buddhists, so you might not have heard of this meditation before. Metta is where we develop a mind of love, loving kindness friendliness towards ourselves, where we can generate this feeling and we radiate it to other living beings. There's a few different ways to practice love, and today I think I'll just introduce what I call my sunshine metta meditation, where we visualize a light shining in our hearts. It's like the sun spreading out around over living beings. And sometimes this visualization helps us to develop that feeling of love in our heart. So we'll just do about 15 minutes of practice. So let's begin by settling, by finding that comfortable position again, where we feel at ease, and allow your mind to let go of the morning, the activities. Allow yourself to be here in the present. Close your eyes, relax. You are a good person. You are. You are. You are someone deserving of love. And so you allow yourself to feel some love for yourself. You are a good person. You deserve love. You deserve to be happy. And so you say to yourself, may I be happy. May I be happy. May I be happy. slowly, steadily, meaning it. May I be happy. And you allow yourself a little smile on your face. You are a good person. You are deserving of love. May I be happy. May I be happy. May I be happy. And with these words, a very special feeling of love you feel it in your mind and body. Soft, warm, beautiful love. And at the center of your chest, this love shines like a light, like a little sun, glowing softly, warm and friendly. This light is love. May I be happy. May I be happy. May I be happy. And as you say these words, that feeling of love, that light in your chest grows stronger. You feel it more and more, and that light grows brighter, stronger too. And this love, this light, spreading now throughout your body, mind, soaking you in beautiful love, drenching you in warm, golden light. May I be happy. May I be happy. May I be happy. And now this light, this love, radiating outwards from your body in all directions, this love, this light reaches out and touches everyone in this room. Our spiritual friends, our companions, may they be happy. May they be happy. May they be happy. May they experience this love. This feeling of love, this light growing stronger and brighter. It radiates outwards effortlessly. May all the beings here in Malaysia experience this love, this light. May all these beings be happy. May they be happy. May they be happy. May they be happy. And soon this love, this light, grows so strong that the whole world is bathed in love, bathed in light. So that all beings on earth are touched by this love. May all beings on earth be happy. May they be happy. May they be happy. And this love, this light, radiating out into the darkness of space. So strong, so vast. It fills the solar system, the galaxy. This love, this light, fills the entire universe. It's limitless, boundless, infinite. May all beings everywhere be happy. May all beings be happy. May all beings be happy. And now drawing the mind back from outer space, back to this earth, to Malaysia, to here in this room with our friends, back to this cushion, this body. Letting that feeling of love go, letting that light fade, allowing it to stay in your heart, softly glowing, knowing that that love is always there in your heart. Whenever you need it, you have love there inside yourself. And so now you can relax your awareness, arise from the meditation, and come back to the room. And when you're ready, opening your eyes. Very good. Do you like doing a bit of metta? Saw lots of people smiling happily. Some people were a bit tearful, so it can be quite an affecting meditation. So do take care. It can bring up a lot of stuff. So that's it. Time up. We're finished. Before we finish up though, we've got all of these wonderful reflections words of encouragement. And I'd like to invite you all to come up and take one so that you have something to remind you in the future. Maybe you're having a tough day at work, you just reach into your handbag and you're like, oh, that's right. That's what I'm meant to be doing in life. Or you keep it on your fridge or on your shrine or something at home, and so that you have some sort of memento from this retreat and our time together. Some wisdom that one of you has gained. Hopefully, we will have something that we can reflect upon. And so I'd like to invite you to all come up one at a time. And I've got a little treat. So just come up, no bowing or anything, just come up and we can grab one of these. And then we'll take a seat and we'll practice sharing the merits. Will you come up? It's like a kind of Saṃvega fortune cookie, right? Who knows? Who knows what kind of... I'd be interested to find out. I haven't read them. Very good. Here, see, it comes back, right? Karma, yeah? Okay, very good. May you be happy. Come on, there you go. That one's for you. Is that one or two? One. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, good. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay. Well, there's some long ones here for those long moments of reflection. Some essays. Mostly very neat handwriting, I'm glad to say. We've got enough treats. Are these blank ones? These are all blank. Oh no, imagine getting a blank one. I guess that means you've got no more work to do. Oop, very good. That's right, yeah. It's something for us to aim towards. Very good. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Sadhu, sadhu. So these are a little wet for some reason. I think I may have spilt some water from my bag. So sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And what if you get your own? Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay. Sadhu, sadhu. Very good. May you be happy. And I get one. Now, what about you? You have to have one. There you go. So have you already peeked? Have you had a look? Did you get a good one? Yeah? What did you get? Anyone? Just a short one. Yeah, a short one? Yeah? Uh-huh. Meditate often, you're running out of time. So that's good. How do you know that? Oh, so they wrote their name. Okay, yeah. And sadhu, sadhu for that good advice. Yeah. So hopefully you got similar things. What did you get, Bhante? Oh, you got two things. Be real, 3 things. Let past go. Be mindful of your speech, mind, and actions. Good advice. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So I hope that these little things, just a memento of our time together and encouragement for you to practice. So I hope it helps somehow. And I'd like to take these few moments before we wrap up to thank Sister Rachel for all her hard work. And I'm really glad, sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Yeah. Like I said before, no one wants to organise a retreat, but everyone wants to come on a retreat. So there's a bit of a gap. So thank you for all your help. And it's really appreciated. And Terence, Tim. Yeah, who else? Yeah, please, all the people, thank you. Yeah. And Susan's gone, she's escaped. But all of these people help to make your retreat experience here easy. So I really appreciate the work that you do so that others can benefit. And our Dharma communities would be nothing without people who do this kind of work. And Brother Terence was the person who connected us all together and who has helped arrange my time here in Malaysia. So I'm very indebted to Terence as well. And sadhu, sadhu. And I'm really glad to meet my venerable brother, Venerable Dhammika, Punya Dhammika, and to have this time together. Thank you for joining. And to all of you, each and every one of you who sat here and did some spiritual work, it's not easy to do. So I appreciate that you took time out of your busy life to be here and for your willingness to participate in the program, do the meditation, listen to the talks, and help out around the retreat centre. And so my heartfelt wish is that some of what we've done here will really benefit you in your practice. And I wish you all the very, very best, and I hope you attain the ultimate goal, Nibbana, soon. So we should practice meritorious deeds. And one way that we can do that is to remember our good actions, all the things that we've done here on this retreat, listening to Dhamma, reading and reciting the suttas, doing meditation, doing acts of service, being generous and kind, helping out. So many good things that we've done here, and we reflect upon them and we feel good about ourselves. This is our cosmic storehouse of goodness, our merits that we've made. And because you're such good people, they do overflow. And you have so many, you can just give them away to other beings. And so we dedicate the merit that we've done to all living beings. And so we say these words together and imagining in your heart distributing those beautiful merits to all living beings. Idam me nyati nyam hotu sukhita hontu nyateyo imam nyati nyam hotu sukhita hontu nyateyo imam me nyati nam hotu sukhita hontu nyateyo. And now we can finish up. Or are we going to do something else? I see chanting books around. Should we just... Shall we do the Panchasila, the 5 precepts? So those people who have been taking 8 precepts will now be taking 5 precepts. So on page, must be at the beginning somewhere of the book. 7? Page 5. Good. Okay, so we begin by bowing 3 times. And we can recite together the Namo Tassa and the 3 refuges. So let's do that together. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Buddhaṃ Saraṇaṃ Gacchāmi. Dhammaṃ Saraṇaṃ Gacchāmi. Sanghaṃ Saraṇaṃ Gacchāmi. Dutiyampi Buddhaṃ Saraṇaṃ Gacchāmi. Dutiyampi Dhammaṃ Saraṇaṃ Gacchāmi. Dutiyampi Sanghaṃ Saraṇaṃ Gacchāmi. Tatiyampi Buddhaṃ Saraṇaṃ Gacchāmi. Tatiyampi Dhammaṃ Saraṇaṃ Gacchāmi. Tatiyampi Sanghaṃ Saraṇaṃ Gacchāmi. And repeat the precepts after me. Panatipata veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Panatipata veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Adinadana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Adinadana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Kamesu miccācara veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Kamesu miccācara veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Musavada veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Musavada veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Suramaraya majjapamadatthana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Suramaraya majjapamadatthana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Imani pancha sikkhapadani silena sugatim yanti. Silena bhoga sampada. Silena nibbuttim yanti. Tasma silam visodaye. Sadhu, 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 sadhu. Very good. And so now we'll finish off by paying respects to the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. Araham Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhaṃ Bhagavantaṃ Abhivademi. Swakata bhagavata dhammo dhammang namasami. Supatipano bhagavato sāvaka saṅgho saṅghang namami. Very good. Okay, so sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So now we can help put away all the cushions and stuff, and we'll see you for lunch at 12 o'clock up in the main area. So thank you everyone, please take care and best wishes. To aren't fully versed in Buddhist practices, sometimes people will ask forgiveness from a teacher for any offence or trouble they've caused by body, speech and mind. There's usually, of course, nothing to forgive, and it's just a way for people to clear their heart and to move forward and to let go of anything that might have happened in their head or in their practice. So, someone is leading. When in doubt, bow. Sadhu, sadhu. So there is nothing to forgive. And if I have caused any offence to you by body, speech or mind, please forgive me. And in Buddhism, when someone asks for forgiveness, we have to give it, right? So it's a beautiful practice, and I feel like I've made many friends, and I look forward to being able to be with you again in the future. So nothing to forgive, be happy. Okay, let's get ready for lunch, like the important thing of the day, right?